Right, well, this is Davos, and the big question, of course, has been, when it comes to India, Notbandi, demonetization, and the new financial technologies that might perhaps change India forever. And to discuss that, we have three people who are going to be extremely influential in the entire process. Arundhati Bhattacharya, of course, the head of SBI, the largest bank in the country, Rajiv, Lall, IDFC Bank, and Vijay Shekhar Sharma, for whom the cash ban was like an early Christmas, because as PayTM, your users took off and you were really, really happy. So I just want to ask all of you to look a little bit ahead. What are these new technologies that we are hearing about, whether it's Beam, whether it is PayTM, whether it is the wallets that all of you have got, or the new biometric scanners? To what extent are they likely to really affect the vast majority of people, and how soon? So let me get an opening thought from each of you.
Well, they are going to affect a vast majority of the people. How soon? Maybe in the next 2 to 3 years. And because biometric is something that's very easy, in the sense you don't have to remember PIN numbers, you don't have to safe keep a card. So to that extent, it makes things very simple. And today, because the cost of technology is coming down, therefore getting a scanner is also, quite cheap. Therefore, this is something that's definitely going to scale in the next 2 to 3 years.
All right, let me just show you what Amitabh Kant said at one of the sessions that I was doing right here at Davos about how big he thinks those biometric scanners actually are going to be. 1.1 billion people, he said, could be using it by 2020.
India's on the cusp of a very, very major technological revolution, which will make everything irrelevant. And, because you will just use your thumb or your iris to transact all debit and credit. And this has not happened anywhere else in the world, because 110 million Indians have biometric today. And this will, by 2020, to my mind, make all debit card, credit card, ATM, all dongles, all ATMs, POS machines, all redundant, totally redundant. And India will really set the trend of technological leapfrogging across the world.
By 2020, so that's only 3 years away, you actually think there'll be enough biometric sensors out there that becomes the dominant method of payment in India?
So actually every single mobile will have either your thumb or your iris. And so each one of us in India will be a walking ATM. We will all be transacting through that mobile. And this will probably be the biggest technological leapfrogging ever in the history of mankind.
So let me get your take on it. Is it going to be that fast? Biometric scanners and new technologies affecting a majority of people in the country within a few years?
So we have the potential to leapfrog very, very quickly. There are 250 million unique users of smartphones, but there are 350 million people who don't have any phones at all. The biometric technology is intended to connect into the digital world those people who have no phones. That's the beauty of Aadhaar authentication. So now the cost for a merchant to become fully digitized has come down so dramatically. Just download Beam, you get a fingerprint dongle, less than 2,500 rupees, he's ready to go. Basic banking services can now be delivered to people with no phones, just their thumb.
Right. Vijay, will these be competition for you? Because right now you're really killing it when it comes to e-wallets. You've got like 170 million out of 200 million. So will these be competition for you, or is it good for you if more and more people go digital?
I think there's always a factor of the ecosystem that plays for any company, and I believe that whether it is UPI, whether it is biometric, whether it is payment bank, whether it is normal bank, everybody going digital sort of creates a momentum out there. So people get more comfortable because it happens, and people get to use the best technology out there. And like Rajiv just now said, what has happened is that solutions for businesses to accept digital payments have become totally democratized. They are available very easily. Their costs are so low. Sometimes there are even zero costs. So those things are really incredible. And I believe that in a few years forward, what we will see is that more number of people, like we were doing our talk, that I believe in 3 to 5 years time period, any number under 40 to crossing 50% of people will be doing digital transactions.
But Notbandi was perhaps the best possible news for you, right? I mean, I'm glad to see you've got your voice back. We've been seeing those videos of you celebrating as to how happy you are with Notbandi. So you've been singing, dancing, and that's your new YouTube sensation, Vijay.
Internal party videos where I treat my party men as my teammates as a party men, and we're very transparent to each other what we want as ambition.
But you think this is a really transformative moment?
I believe that it is a movement of India. For the first time in the world, India has something which other part of the world hasn't have. For example, like in cellular, we saw it. Ultimately, we were lagger. I mean, mobile internet has not happened at a pace that the rest of the world has happened, even if we had a cellular technology out there for voice communication. But as far as the financial inclusion and expansion of these services is concerned, there is an incredible amount of innovation that is happening. And remember, we are in a country which is open, transparent, and well regulated. We're not talking about a la la land where anything can be happening.
Right. So, on that point of leapfrogging, it's an interesting point because take telecom. India lagged the entire world when it came to fixed line. And then when mobile came, it actually made things that much easier to adopt. So sometimes India moves very slowly, and then when it starts to move, then that momentum really goes really fast. Is that a possibility here?
That is a possibility, of course. But you know, with cash, the problem is that it's a very old habit. So as the cash continues to become available, there is always a risk that people will slide back into old habits. And that's why it's important for the government to keep doing things, to keep disincentivizing cash and incentivizing digital. If that doesn't happen, the kind of adoption that we have seen in the past 2 months, that adoption may not be stable.
So what should be the sort of, like we're hearing from somebody in Argentina saying that there's actually a charge for cash. You know, you pay a tax for cash. You make people, if they're paying more than a certain amount of cash, declare their numbers and their, PAN cards have to be done. You just disincentivize it as much as you can.
No, that's exactly it. And in fact, for the last 2 years, we've been telling the government that they need to disincentivize cash. Now, what happens is the government has a feeling that the users of cash are mainly small value people, and they don't really want to disinconvenience them. And because they don't want to not inconvenience them, they've not been actually putting any charges on cash. Now that there is an alternative available, at this point of time, the government can actually think of bringing in these disincentives.
Let's just talk about security for a while, because that's the big concern people have. It's all very well to say, okay, 1 billion people are suddenly going to go on to digital payment systems. The possibility for scams, the possibility for people misusing it, the possibility of people stealing others' identities and doing stuff with it, especially in areas where people are not technologically savvy or that financially literate. Is that something that worries you?
Yes, of course. Any new technology carries risk with it, and a lot of thought and care is going into how these things are being rolled out. We will learn by experience. I mean, anytime there is this breakout moment, it comes with some unforeseen circumstances. I think that there are 2 or 3 things we need to do. I'm not sure I would go as far as disincentivizing cash. It's a question of incentivizing behavior that allows people to experiment and become more comfortable with electronic interfaces. So incentivize that, educate people as much as possible, and then very much incentivize and regulate banks to focus on enhancing and beefing up security.
From a security point of view, is that something that potentially is a worry?
Yeah, so let me tell you one thing, that digital economy, and we have a old world example in a way. We can call PayPal an old world because it is a 98-99 company. The success of PayPal was attributed not because it had a better product in terms of what competition had, but it had a superior security features than competition had. Incidentally, in the digital world, the success as much might be for your marketing and product features and elements. It is far more critical to have a security element sorted and consumers not believing this is a adda where everything bad happens. So these are far more important than any other element or features that we believe incentives that could have been done. So security is a paramount differentiation that has to be existing there. Now, number 2 point, remember that India is jumping 2 steps in one go. For example, like people who do not have apps or computers or internet devices, or let's say even we are talking about the phone and biometric scan devices, they're moving to a customer base which is digitally transacting, and transaction is our second two. First, they should be digital native and transaction, and then comes the second, even more important point. A call from some fraudster that I'm calling from SBI Bank and I want to solve your problem, is Indians are enough gullible to trust that, and fraudsters are far more superior than gullible, I could put here. So it's a battle, it's a fight. That is why I believe that a lot more will be done in this space than what we can talk about the security is. But security is a business differentiation that will play out in the market.
So to end, one thing that you think the government needs to do and one thing which you think the private sector needs to do to ensure that India does really leapfrog when it comes to financial technology.
Well, for the government, I think one thing that they need to do, and that is very simple, to ensure that all the business that the government does is through the non-cash mode. So whether they be payments to their employees, whether they be bill payments, whether they means whatever way they use cash. And this is not only for the government organizations, but the quasi-government organizations. If they can implement this, a huge amount of cash gets taken out.
That's a very good point.
And the second
that includes the PSUs and railways. There are lots of people who are employed directly or indirectly by the government.
Absolutely. The railways, even places like the IITs, the IIMs, anything and everything where the government is giving money, where the government is supporting, they should insist zero cash. That's one. And the second thing, I think, regarding the private sector, the private sector obviously has to continue to innovate and continue to spend on customer education. Customer education is something that will not give you immediate results. But what he was talking about, Vijay was talking about regarding these phishing calls, the only way you can stop that is superior customer education. So the private sector needs to spend on this, even though it may not be something which will yield you returns in the short term.
Anything, your suggestions?
Government should do everything possible, just like they launched the Jan Dhan Yojana. They should now, the next wave is they must ensure that as many bank accounts as possible are Aadhaar seeded. The linkage between Aadhaar and bank accounts is still not complete, has some way to go. That needs to be accepted.
Perhaps add mobile also to make it the full Jan Dhan, Aadhaar and mobile number, link them all and have a strong database.
Absolutely. So another big push, that would be my ask from government. From the private sector, particularly in the financial industry, I think we need to open our minds to different business models. So if you want ubiquity of use for these new technologies, should not look at payments as a money spinner anymore. Payments is a convenience. Think about data. How to monetize data, imagine what that could be like and build a business model around that.
Amazing. I think as far as the government is concerned, I'm going to say that there is a tremendous new amount of technology that are coming, and lately we are hearing how one incumbent tries to block other new and so on, and that happens in telecom, that happens in nearly banking. Is slowly surprising to me. So I believe that government should keep a very neutral open space for everybody to play. Beam is for a change, government-sponsored consumer app, which is incredible, and I think this is a very leapfrog shot from a government entity. So I personally believe that governments have to make sure that there is a open field for everyone and innovation to come in. And private sector, let me give you an example of private sector's greed, if you will. On a cinema ticket, you pay convenience charge if you pay digitally and you book it online, and when you go on a box office, you actually pay it lesser amount. If you book the flight, till the time you were checked out, there's a price which is different, and as soon as you selected a payment instrument, the price goes up. Actually, my single request to the private organizations will be that please don't choose digital to become a revenue line item in your business model. It should be at least equal to, if not superior to, your offline model. Government took the first step of saying that we will take care of MDR charges, that is on us and everything else. But private organizations treat it as a revenue line item. This is like really something I look up to them, that they should make this at least par, if not better than the offline world.
All right, I think those are excellent suggestions, and let's hope if all that happens, India can really leapfrog when it comes to the financial technology revolution. We've had a major push, and sometimes the push is required. Now, other steps need to be taken. Thank you all so much for joining us.